I have a very distinguished panel of 5 people. So I don't know, I'll try and do justice to all of you in terms of the questions I ask of you. But the topic is so complicated that I'll have to give a little bit of context. So I'll try and be as short as possible. But I just need to bring to the attention of the audience that today we are going to talk about the future of local governance. And local governance remains a very important issue for most governments, for most societies, for most economies. In India, for us, India's local governance is empowered by the 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment, which talks about issues like urbanization pressures, fiscal constraints, and digital divides. The 3 big issues that local governance faces in India. Under this government and under our 16th Financial Commission, we have allocated over 4.5 lakh crores towards local governance in projects like the Smart Cities mission. Yet the challenges remain. In India, our biggest challenge is fiscal dependency. Out of the 29 devolved subjects like water supply, sanitation, etc., which are given to local governance, by the fact that local bodies generate 60% of our GDP, they only receive 0.6% of their own revenue, hence relying completely on state grants. So while they are the generators of the productivity, they have no control over their they have no fiscal autonomy. The second problem that we have, which we call as the 3 F's devolution gaps. These urban local bodies or gram panchayats and local governance don't have neither the functions, nor the funds, nor the functionaries under their control. That is also with either the state government or the federal government. Then we have these urbanization strains. As India becomes increasingly urbanized, we find that many villages, etc., the local bodies have no jurisdictional authorities over these suburbs. And then, of course, the participation is very low because there is an elite capture of these institutions, and digital exclusion limits the impact of people's participation. So it is in this context, gentlemen, that I will ask you that, are the challenges that are being faced by India, which range from the local body level, from climate change adaptation and resilience to rapid urbanization, to, as I talked about, financial constraints, digital transformation, technology and workforce shortages, and even now cybersecurity and emerging risks. So how does this work in your relative economies and countries would be of great interest to both me and the audience today. So I will start with Mr. Andrei Korobeinik from Estonia. And I'd like to ask you, sir, that Estonia is known worldwide for its advanced digital governance system. And it provides Estonia with an experience of how Estonia can help India digitize governance against our 25 million panchayats. So how can Estonia's digital governance model, you think, help countries like India that are trying to deliver digital services at a very large scale?
Yeah, thanks a lot for having us here. Estonia has slightly different issues comparing to India. It's a tiny country, and in rural areas there is not a lot of people living. So for us, the issue is that the state services are not always there. And what we do, I think, is the challenge for a lot of European countries. We try to help regions to provide the services from the large cities online. So we have online medicine. Every citizen has an access to e-government services. So people in Estonia don't go to physical banks, for example, for, I don't know, 30 years already. So they do everything online. They don't have to file tax declarations on site. They do it online. You can even marry or divorce online. So and you can vote online as well, which is actually pretty convenient because on both local and state elections, more than half of population actually vote using computer or mobile phone. instead of going to cast a ballot manually. So that saves a lot of time and effort. But all those issues you mentioned are there. So, for example, local governments don't have enough money. They produce a lot of GDP, but they don't get it back. So what we do, we introduce different types of sort of like resource taxes. So if there is solar panels, wind farms, any other ways of like producing value, then local governments start to get money back. That helps them, you know, to make peace with all those maybe not that nice ways of producing values. Like people don't like wind farms, but if they start earning money from that, that helps. But of course, the challenges you face are probably pretty common for all the countries in the world. People move to large cities, people don't live in the rural areas anymore, and it's really hard for the state governments to help those areas to, you know, be successful.
And in your own experience in Estonia, what did the government, in your view, did right to allow this adoption of technology and digitization to happen at a quick scale? You know, how did you get scale? Yeah,
it's a bit long story, but in short, we have this underlying infrastructure that is essential, because otherwise you have really a bunch of different fragmented services. We call it X-Road, and it's used by several countries. Finland, for example, is using our system, and India can do it as well. It's free. You just, you know, implement it, and all government services start to talk with each other using this system. We never ask for data twice. So if you once submit, for example, your home address, it's there. The other services don't ask for it. And another essential thing is that you have to use some sort of digital ID. So every citizen has to, you know, have something that helps him to log in into those services, and that's it. On top of that, you can build whatever, and it works. I know, you know, UK and partially New Zealand as well are really advanced in this. So that's important that you do those steps before you start building services, because otherwise it's going to be a total mess.
Thank you, Mr. Korobeinik. My next question is to Dasho, Sangay, Khandu from Bhutan. You know, Bhutan has a very strong tradition of community-centered governance and environmental protection. Local governments often play a very key role in maintaining this balance between development and environment. How can you explain how does in Bhutan local governments work closely with communities to protect the environment while also ensuring that development is not affected?
Thank you very much. It's all about the responsibility the individual takes. It's not about inside-out approach, but outside-in approach. See, in Bhutan, the Article 22 of the Constitution says the local government should remain all the time apolitical. And His Majesty the King has always stressed that the local government is the nearest government to the people. You see, the people works with the local government day in, day out. They are elected. So no matter whether you go digitized or whether you remain traditional ways of doing things, it's about the accountability. It's about how people can hold the leaders accountable. First thing is the notion that the people should have inculcated in their brain, in their blood, that the environment, socio-economic development, whatever, culture, whatever, is so important for us. So how do we maintain this? It boils down to, see, as an elected individual, it's very difficult to balance it. We're driven by so many interest groups. There are so many people approaching us with certain requests and all so on and so forth. But ultimately it boils down to the individual whether to really take a risk and face the people and be able to answer to the people. And people are not willing to really agree to the answer that is baseless. So it is about how we manage the things. Our people in Bhutan are responsible. There should be a self-policing. I think you understood me. A self-policing. No. Individuals are all police. They don't need another policeman to police them.
But
So-
what if a conflict happens? Sorry, but what if sometimes, as in life, if a conflict happens between development and communities, then how do you balance the two? Who decides and how does it work?
See, there are always a trade-off. So whenever we might have to compromise certain things to achieve something. We have to compromise one thing to achieve another sometime, if it is better. But if it is not doing good, we have to sacrifice it. We have to do it away. But we balance it in a way that, suppose like yesterday during my keynote address, I said, we are constructing so many farm roads all across the society. We want to make sure that all the houses are reached with at least the road access. We have a hydropower coming up, 20,000 megawatts. Of course, it's going to damage so much of trees and environment. But we are equally planting million trees to supplement it, to substitute it. But we are again planting the trees that are better than those trees that we have damaged already. So these are the things how we are balancing. And these are convincing. When we tell this thing to the people, people are really convinced. And people agree to it. And people cooperate. So there's no way out there that there is a controversy between the leader or the decision maker or the electorate. But there are sometimes we, as a leader, as a legislator, might have to take some stringent action, which may not, of course, immediately be absorbed within the people, but definitely people realizes later on that this was the right thing that we have done. So these are certain things that, but this is a very difficult question. I think we need quite a lot of time to explain it. If you give me at least an hour, I think I'll be able to explain.
Thank you so much. I wish I had that time.
Because this is, I'm talking out of, like, I was in the public service at the age of 16, and I'm now 50. So it has been almost 34 years of experience. I've seen the world in different perspectives. I've seen the level of development from zero to where we are today. So this is a very complicated question, and there will be so many questions in between, and there will be answers and answers and answers, of course, but we have maintained till today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a very good segue into my next panelist, Mr. Tangi Utikere from New Zealand. New Zealand's, just building on this, New Zealand's own governance framework includes mechanisms that ensure representation and participation of indigenous communities. How can local governance systems, in your experience, better include indigenous and local communities in decision making?
Namaste, tēnā koe, tēnā tātou katoa, kia orana. It's great to be here at NXT Summit 2026 in New Delhi. And New Zealand is a far way away. Our nearest neighbour is 3 hours by plane. So it means that we are somewhat situated somewhere in the world that might seem isolated to some, but it means that we value the relationship with our Indigenous community, with our Māori people really, really well. The issues that you explained in your introduction are no different actually to the issues that we experience in Aotearoa, New Zealand. For us, it's around ensuring that local government works in partnership with central government, despite the healthy tension and otherwise tension that does exist from time to time as well. But when local government is able to focus on the well-beings of a community, and I agree with our colleague from Bhutan around the community and the collective, that's where you can see some real difference and some real change. Focusing on outcomes now, but also into the future around our social opportunities to ensure that our communities are housed, that they're safe, looking at economic opportunities around employment, ensuring that businesses are backed, Indigenous businesses are backed as well, focusing on the environment. And for us, you know, our Indigenous community, our Māori community, have a really strong and special historical link with the environment, with the world around them. And so ensuring that alongside that focus on that cultural sense of well-being as well. Cultural identity is extremely important to us as a nation, given where we are. And it means actually that at a community level, all decisions are local decisions. And so ensuring that we're able to do that in partnership, not just with central government, but with all the different communities of interest is always very, very important. It's something that we have worked on for quite some time, and I have no doubt we'll continue to work in that space into the future.
But Mr. Utikere, it's, you know, when as a nation you plan some big, the central government or the federal government plans some big initiatives, how does it build local community participation in it? Sometimes even it maybe go against the cultural preservation of these communities. So either it's building a road or building a big power plant, or there's big infrastructure works that have the potential of disrupting local communities. How does that get reconciled in New Zealand?
Yeah, that's a real live point where in New Zealand there is a huge focus at the moment on the need to lift our game when it comes to national infrastructure, so roads, hospitals, looking at what the building's going to be like for the future. Now, the easy option, of course, would be to just railroad a particular piece of infrastructure or kit right through an area without any consideration for the cultural heritage, the cultural value that exists. Now, the approach in New Zealand has been built up over generations, and a lot of the expertise is actually initiated in an oral sense, was passed down from generation to generation. So my take on that is it goes back again to the key value of relationships and how we value communities of interest, and ensuring that when we work through a process that we don't fast-track things, we don't rush through things. Things need to happen. They need to be timely. It's not saying that things need to, you need to apply the brakes on everything all the time. But you do need to take the time to ensure that everyone understands what it is what's sought to be achieved here. And at the end of the day, if you're able to do that in a process, then it ensures that everyone's on board, that you are able to end up with a project that is, unique and special. If I can think of an infrastructure piece of kit in my own area in Palmerston North, where it's just a highway that was proposed, but working with local iwi, with the local Indigenous community, we ended up with a far superior piece of road experience that is something that's pretty spectacular. So it is fundamentally about partnerships and understanding.
Thank you very much. My next question is to Dr. Martin Daly from Ireland. Sir, in Ireland, local governments also play a very important role in supporting the regional economic development. How do you think local governments, from your own experience, contribute to economic growth and a balanced regional development? And what role can they play proactively in shaping outcomes of not just communities, but in sync of that of the entire nation? What has been your experience in Ireland?
Ireland has a particular experience in that Dublin is our maiden capital city, and it dominates the country. 1.5 million of the people live there out of a population of 5 million people. Our west coast is very undeveloped. I just want to go back to a principle here. This goes to the heart of democracy, involving people at local level in decision making. And there's a natural tension between central government and local government, and it goes in cycles. So we inherited a very centralised system when we gained independence 100 years ago from the British, And some of that culture is still there, that centralisation, and we've tried to break away from it. And of course, there was more decision-making at local level 20 years ago. A number of planning scandals happened, and central government took that back or divested it to non-elected officials who are local, and our elected officials have less say in what's going on. Also, the creation of, for example, water utilities board and an electricity board, which are unelected and not answerable to elected officials except at national level. And that is a real difficulty. We've also relied on the European Union to encourage regionalisation and subsidiarity in terms of investing in regions, and we've gained a lot from that. But coming back to that, for example, for a country of 5 million people, we have a 2% population growth year on year, a big growth in our economy, not enough housing, not enough water and wastewater infrastructure, not enough electricity infrastructure. We're about to spend 7.5 billion euros on wastewater treatment plants for that population in the next 5 years, 13.5 billion euros on our electricity network. But the problem is we have difficulties delivering that infrastructure quickly. So there's a reform of our planning laws going on at the moment. There's also a reform of critical infrastructure delivery happening at government level. But I have to say, we do need to get back where we give locally elected officials more say in what's going on locally, because that disconnect is not just an Irish issue, it's an issue internationally, where people feel disconnected from the political system. Many working people feel underrepresented, and then that allows a vacuum at the extremes for people who come in and give simplistic solutions for what are complex problems. So we really do need to involve and empower people locally to be involved in that decision making. And in order to do that, you've got to give them the funding to do that, the budgets to do that. But we have an issue in Ireland at the moment where we have unelected quangos delivering major utilities which are unanswerable to elected politicians like myself. And politicians did that to themselves maybe 20 years ago because of particular delivery issues. And I think we need to go back to empowering local politicians, empowering local people. We have a very good local electoral system to our local authorities, and it is easy to get on a ballot paper to get elected, but we need to give real power to local politicians. And I think that disconnect we have to address. It's not just an Irish issue. It's an emerging issue where people feel disconnected from politics, don't feel represented, and that creates a vacuum for political extremes.
Thank you. You mentioned very interestingly that, you also, like us in India, inherited a system from the British, which was over-centralized because it had only one objective of revenue extraction, right?
Control.
So, so how did in your own experience in Ireland, if you could help, if you can think of one or two big things that you were able to do to sort of reverse that. One, of course, happens through democracy, and but any specific actions that Ireland took over the last, 75 or 880 years?
I would say this about our politics. It's very local. I'm a national politician, but I do 2 or 3 local clinics every week where I sit in my constituency and people come in with all sorts of problems, seeking health services, housing, seeking access to special additional educational needs, looking for the rights for people who are living, say, with a disability. So I feel very connected. I'm a GP, I live in my constituency, and so I'm very easily accessible. And I think that is one of the strengths of our politics in Ireland, is that most of our national politicians live in their communities, are elected out of their communities, and are connected to their communities. And that's extremely important, and that doesn't happen in every jurisdiction. So I think that's one I need to emphasize that strength. But on the other side of it, I do feel that we have politicians have divested themselves of accountability for major things like housing, infrastructural development like wastewater treatment, electricity and energy, and we need to get back to being accountable, but also then empowering local politicians, because you can't be accountable unless you've been empowered to make the decision in the first place.
Thank you. Thank you. And then I will come to my final panelist, Honorable Arjuna Sujiva from Sri Lanka. Sir, like India, Sri Lanka and many other developing countries face this challenge of local governments, again, depending heavily on national grants. You know, a mismatch between their generation of revenue and yet no fiscal autonomy. How do you think, from Sri Lanka's experience, local governments can strengthen their own revenue sources and become more financially sustainable?
Well, I think they have to be innovative. Basically, it's the local government, they manage the streets, wastage, public health. So from birth to your death, the basics are handled by the local government. But as you say, we don't have a system for the local government to be progressive, and they don't work much on development. So they have to think out of the box. So being a leader of a constituency, and what I would always tell them is to be innovative. For them to find their own methods of doing business, to go to make it to the private sector, and as much as possible, because the system doesn't allow them to sort of get any other grants from the government. It's a basic limitation that they have. So we have to, they have to think out of the box, and fiscally, I don't know whether we are allowed to do that, but we have to think of new innovations, how they can get involved in the development process, so they can get some money out of that as well. Especially one area that they could concentrate, actually, waste management. We started in certain areas to collect the waste and sort of manufacture electricity out of it. So, but that, even those income goes to the central government. So it's not allocated to the local government. So they find it difficult to kind of get out of their comfort zone, but we have to think of innovative ways to do that. It's not easy.
Thank you very much. You know, I'm conscious of the time, so I want to give each of my panelists one minute each before we wind up. But I want to open a question to you all. And particularly from us, from Indian context, you've come all the way to India. And, you know, for India, it's very important to learn from your experiences. You know, India, today we have a population of about 1.4 billion people. We have add in about 3,000 plus, or maybe 3,000 to 3,500 public representatives between the federal and the state governments. But we have a bureaucracy of about 30 million people, right? So we have a big challenge with local governance, because as the democracy wants to push local governments, we have to deliver to 1.4 billion people, but there is a mismatch between 3,000 people and a 30 million structure that supports it. I'd be very interested, and give you all one minute each, to, from your perspective, and I know each country is different, what do you think, from your country, there's that one unique example that could be of relevance, that you think you could be very proud of in terms of the local governance that you have been able to achieve in them? So may I start with the panelists at the extreme left, and we'll just go one by one.
Constitution, from the Constitution, if I read, it is to facilitate the direct participation of the people in the development and management of their own social, economic, and environmental well-being. First thing, that's the very important thing. Okay, now the notion of having the local government separately is something very big. But we need to give a financial independence. But at the same time, I should be very proud of saying that in our society, our people are so responsible. They can hold, we have given the government, the central government have given the financial independence to the local government. But it is, again, the people who should hold the leader accountable and make the leader make use of the funds allocated for them to the optimum utility for the benefit of the people. So I think it boils down to what sort of leaders, local leaders, they are going to elect and to what extent they can hold accountable. So I think that it boils down to the same thing again.
Thank you.
That's my final say.
Arun Sujay.
So I would say while maintain the parameters of efficiency, good governance, accountability, I think you must give them autonomy for the local government to grow, for them to get into business, to privatize, and set up laws so they can be financially self-sufficient. I would not always think that the central government should always pump money. So the local governments would be, they'll have the autonomy to decide for themselves, and for them also to make sure that they also have a system to make some money and be more self-sufficient. And that's what I would think, because the basics are quite in place at the moment. So you have to think, I think, far ahead how they can improve the other areas in the constituency.
Dr. Martin Daly.
I suppose there's this tension about public service and private service and productivity. I think sometimes there's a sense amongst the public that public service is less productive than the private sector. Now, they're different creatures, but we must ensure that if we invest in our local government, that it must be productive. So we need to use digitalization, AI, and that to improve efficiency. But we need to do that. One of our big organisations, our health organisations that run our public health services, has had an increase over the last 5 years, because the economy's been doing well, of 45% in personnel, and yet we've invested as a government very heavily in AI and digitalisation. We're not seeing the productivity, and that's the challenge, because then local government falls into disrepute. So if we're going to invest money, it's got to be into efficient, representative local government, but we have to see returns for that investment, and it must be efficient and it must deliver for people in local areas.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the future is that central government can help local governments to help people directly. So currently in Estonia it's pretty easy to get online services, but what we are missing is that when someone is getting issues, like maybe is running out of money, have trouble with education and so on, in the future local government can actually prevent this by offering help in advance. When things are still okay but are going south, then local government could intervene using AI instruments. Now it's not there, but I think it's like 2 or 3 years in the future. And the second thing is certainly trust. People actually have to feel that the local government is there. We try to achieve that with different direct democracy instruments. People can easily make petitions to the local government. We need 1% of signatures, and that happens online. So we have a lot of initiatives coming from people to the local city councils using this. And we also have participatory budgets where people can offer ideas, and those ideas that win by the population vote, they are funded with the local government budgets. It helps people to understand that they are actually part of the process, and it works. So if you vote for, I don't know, local whatever school extension, and it's there in a couple of years, then you feel that it's your thing. The local government works for you, and I think the trust is the most important factor in the nowadays world, because people sometimes feel that local government and central government are really far away.
Thank you.
And I think for us it's also about that sense of transparency, and certainly using online digital AI platforms is a huge part of that. But fundamentally I also think it's about ensuring that local government and central government don't see each other as competitors, but work together. There seems to be often a lot of blame that goes on between local and central government. The people that lose at the end of the day are the communities that we're all elected to serve.
Thank you. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for such a lovely panel, and thank you for your time. It was lovely to have you on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of you who were discussing, of course, the future of local governance there in that panel discussion. All right, a quick photo op, and then we will move on to our first keynote address of the day. We are, of course, continuing this segment on Next in People. Rather, we are, of course, switching that a bit. We're now going to be talking about Next in Civilization. And in this segment of Next in Civilization, to give an address on the Gelufu model, we have with us Senior Communications Officer of Gelufu Mindfulness City Authority from Bhutan. In fact, Sherup Dorji is with us. Sherup Dorji, many thanks for joining us. Let's have a round of applause, please, for our next speaker at NXT 2026.
I'll be honest, if I knew my picture would be put up on the screen like that, I would have sent a better picture. Dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to convey the warm greetings and best wishes of His Majesty King Jigme of Bhutan. Good morning, Kuzampolo, everyone. I want to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present a special project emanating from the Himalayas. Gelufu Mindfulness City is GMC in short, is a royal vision of His Majesty King Jigme Gesar Namgyal Wangchuck of Bhutan and conceived under the direct leadership of His Majesty the King. So in the course of my presentation, I will I hope to convey at least what GMC stands for, and more importantly, the tremendous opportunities it holds. Before I dive into what GMC is, perhaps I want to take a minute to talk about my country, Bhutan. Okay, so yep, this is what we tell people, foreigners, and this is how foreigners see Bhutan. Young, handsome king, beautiful queen, tradition, culture, landscape, and all of it. Bhutan's image and reputation is very much steeped in our history, in our culture and heritage. Bhutan is basically a cultural hub. We are one in 10 countries which has never been colonized in the world, and it is also home to gross national happiness. It is our socio-economic development philosophy where we